morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Norris. I'm a current e-board member. I'm a shop steward, member of Progressive Action. And today is the day I said I was going to come and speak on my behalf. I can't speak on other parties who voted no. I can speak on my behalf. And let's get into it. This contract severely is leaving us behind. Monetarily, departmental gains from my department, which is RTO. I'm a train operator by trade. We had no way of gaining anything in this contract, and the gains that we had are minuscule at best. We had 6 more dedicated announcers added. OT in any division if you're qualified. I know that's a fallacy because I tried it before when I went from A to B, B back to A. It's a fallacy. They will not let you do that. This is something that's just it's a pipe dream. Towers get to pick in any division. It should have been like that in the first place. Extended absence jobs, red line. That's just a guarantee. It's not a real win. Let's get to the real contract. There are a lot of good things in this contract. A lot of good things. The retiree benefits are superb. You know, where we went from and to, great things. I have no issue with those things. You know, expanded bereavement, that is lackluster. It gave you access to more of your family members, stepchildren, grandparents, grandchildren. The one caveat and the one big thing in this that a lot of people are excited about, and I'm excited for them to have access to it, is the ABA, the autism therapy. And this is very expensive. I actually know people who are counselors, people who help with these type of things and do it. It's very expensive, and it's almost lifelong because the people who need this therapy and the counseling have to have it. So this is not a smoke and mirrors thing or a pipe dream thing. It is something very relative to the people who are down here. Now, I know a lot of people have come to me and complained that the percentage of people who are actually using it, that this might have offset our raise. I can neither confirm nor deny that. And I really don't want to get into that because that's part of a table that's way above me. It is a good thing. It is a good thing to have. I know a few people down here who do have this situation where they do need this, and I'm happy for them. Reasonable accommodations for women, again, is a committee. Sorry to say it, but it is a committee. That's a lackluster point. Ma and Pa has been taken away from where we pay for it. Now it's contractual. So we're not in a position where we have to pay for it. That's a good thing. I hear a lot of people complaining why the women get 12 weeks. Well, women give birth. If we want to expand upon this, you fight from a point where nobody can refute what's going on. Women give birth. You can't refute that. You can't fight it. In order for us to gain more, we have to fight from a stable position, and that's the stable position. As a man, I'm all for it. I'm happy. I had 2 children while I was working in the system. And I didn't get a lot of time off. I got the 2 weeks. I had to use FMLA. I had to work overtime to gain time to take off. I did it all because it was a benefit to me and my family. I think the men down here should look at it as the same thing. It's a benefit to you and your family. Now, the women down here, 12 weeks is a gain, but it's not enough. We know that's not enough. But we have to fight from a position where we can gain more. That's the position where we gain more. They're talking about an employee recognition program that was supposedly down here before. I don't know how true or how it's going to work. They're telling me that it's going to be a committee between management and the union, and also, I guess, as immediate superintendent to nominate or put people up. We'll see what that happens. We'll see when that happens. The COVID family coverage is a beautiful thing. More could have been done for us through this or around this. You know, we still haven't had hazard pay. You know, we don't have, at minimum, at total minimum in my department, we should have hazard pay for people who work in subsea at baseline, at minimum. You know, and then we expand from there. MOW, anybody who works underground, who's in a hazardous position constantly, this is something that they should have been afforded. I don't know why. I can't speculate. MTA bus retirees get an MTA bus pass. So that doesn't mean that they get the same pass as everybody else in like TA Surface or RTO or subways. MTA bus retirees get an MTA bus pass that they can only use for their system. As we see, Surface really made off with what they got, because Surface asked to be at a certain number, and that number was granted. That number was given, and that's exactly what they wanted. You know, I particularly have an issue with the lead negotiator for RTO, and that's Canelo Gomez. I watched part of his live last night, and he's complaining that the people complaining are the same people complaining. Well, I'm somebody new. And what he did prior in the Bronx is probably the one big defining factor as to why RTO as a whole could not negotiate to get anything better. You know, this is beyond being on the back foot. Now, I hate to say it, I sit in the E-board meetings, and I'm dismayed sometimes by what's asked for, or what little position we have when we in RTO account for a large part of the money that's brought into this system. You know, buses, runs, extra supplements, and shuttles off of our GOs. That means the money comes out of our pot. So, you know, these things, it dismays me that we are responsible for so much of the prominence of the system, but participate in so little of it. Now, what we're going to have to do going forward as a division is we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to make noise. We're going to have to be consistent and constant. That means everybody. Conductors, towers, train operators, all little grievances that we have amongst each other must stop. We're not going to go forward if we do not put those little petty differences to the side. You know, I watched your VP complain about the same people complaining about him, and they're the complainers. But every group he's been with are the people he's talking about. So the people he's complained about that are complaining are the same people he aligned with to get to where he's at. That's a problem. That's a problem. Because the person who is in the seat doesn't want to wear the crown or bear the responsibility of the crown. I don't understand that. Good morning. Good morning. I see a few of y'all. Good morning, Christopher. Good morning, Miss Shaitan. Good morning, Lucas. That's a problem for me. Whenever you take the mantle of responsibility, it is yours to bear. You are subject for criticism at every turn. I have no issue with that. I work out of Stillwell, which is the biggest terminal in the system. And I stand front and center. I hide from no one. I don't sit in the locker room. I stay outside. Even when I don't want to, I stay outside. I'm available. I'm up for debate. I'm easy to engage. And when you're a leader or you're in a leadership role, it is mandated. You must be accountable. You must be available. You must be unafraid to be held to task. You cannot not be afraid to be held to task. It is part of your makeup. It is your responsibility. And this is quite a problem. I hear from a lot of the members, everybody included, is it's very difficult to engage him and to be positive and to be on the same level. He's condescending in most interactions. As the members, you have to hold him accountable for that. You can't let this go. You know, you can't let it perturb you or dismay you or make you disinterested. You have to keep pushing. And if you have to go above that person and let his higher ups, which is the top 4, know what's going on, that you have difficulty engaging your VP. You know, last night he said he's not hard to get a hold of. That may be true, but the interaction is a negative one. And that's the problem, is when the interaction is a negative one, it's not suiting to the members. You know, the essential bonus I want to talk about is not a bonus. They actually, if you look at it and what it represents, they moved a percentage of what would have been a compounded raise into cash, because most people down here will bite for cash. If that's what you're into, so be it. My only advice is whatever you have coming to you, that $3,000, please roll it over. Please roll it over in whatever account you have and take a loan against yourself and maximize it. Don't take that $3,000 and put it in your hand. Please maximize it. You know, when you look at these raises and when you look at the representation we have, it's very sketchy. It's very sketchy. Now, when it comes to why I voted no on the contract, the money, the percentages were not enough. Departmental gains were not enough. And a lot of you don't know how this contract was actually sold or how it was presented. I'll tell you that when we came into the room to sit down, as soon as everyone was sitting, attendance was taken, and John Samuelson comes in from the back. And I don't know how many people, I know Nuke would know, Tremel would know, but a lot of the people in the room were from prior administrations, so they have a familiarity with him. And he talked for a little while, and he kind of pumped up the crowd for Richie Davis. And after he pumped up the crowd, he was saying that we blew the doors off of DC 37. We, in effect, got 2 points above what they got. I don't think that's blowing the doors off of anything. I think the doors was shut, and we couldn't have did nothing about it. And I think that's a real disservice to all of us. That, you know, you say we blew the doors off because of pattern bargaining, and pattern bargaining is baked into the Taylor law. You know, and I've been here 10 years. I've never seen a profitable or a contract that has beat inflation or brought us to inflation. You don't have it here. And that's due in part to the Taylor law and due in part to the fight that we either do participate in or don't participate in. You know, it's incumbent upon our representation to engage us, to get us motivated to fight. I ask you, how many of you have been motivated to fight by your representation? How many? Now, if you got any questions, please ask away. Now, a lot of the things in this contract are really not beneficial to RTO specifically. That's going to be a problem, but that's because we were crippled to negotiate. You know, the new wage breakdown is on the union website. It'll be given out. Good morning, Serena. The new wage breakdown, it should be on the website, and it'll probably be on property this weekend, but you can see the new wage breakdown. That's not a problem. It's on the website for the union, and it probably was circulating soon. Again, the contract room. Well, most other departments have a continuity from election to election. Most of the time, it's the same people, the same reps. There is a very big lack of continuity in RTO because we are probably the most engaged and the most turbulent because we've been activated. You know, we very much so engage, and we question and we fight. The fights that we are fighting sometimes are against ourselves, but we are fighting, and we're not accepting what is just passed along to us. And that's probably a big point of contention. The 10 years that I've been here, we went from Joe Costales to Keith Harrington to Kia to Eric to Canella. There is no consistency. There's no baton passing here. And that's probably what's hampering us in most cases, that we don't have a baton to pass, and we don't have a system where we can have this continuity of ideas or things that we're fighting for. So if that answers your question, that's part of it. And also the amount of money that RTO brings in service delivery is fought over through almost all departments. We are responsible for a high percentage of all of the work. Everything in MOW is for us. Car equipment is for us. Buses run supplements for shuttles. That comes out of our pot. Stations is for us. Car cleaners is us. Almost everybody eats off the table that service and delivery sets, because it's probably the most capital funds and money that comes in is devoted to service and delivery. We share no money with anyone else. We don't share money. If money comes in for roads and buses, it can't all go to buses because the roads have to be done. So DOT gets their portion. We are totally encapsulated. We're a closed system. So everything that comes in for us is for us. They did raise issue with the sick days, but everything was given a hard no. From what I've been told and what I understand, almost everything that we've asked for was a hard no, and they wanted significant givebacks. This is what I tell you about our negotiating power being crippled because of who negotiated for us. You know, he may not like what I'm going to say or what I'm saying, but that's not my concern. I have to work here. I have a family just like everybody else here. They have responsibilities to take care of. And 10 to 15 minutes of losing control of yourself has cost the whole department. Because the people sitting again across the table from him do not have to engage him positively. They know they have him on the back foot. That's nothing that they have to do. They don't have to engage him or negotiate with him fairly. Because there's nothing he can do to push upon them that they should bend. I'm sorry, it is what it is. There's nothing more he can do. Please, any more questions? I know Mike Taylor voted no, and I'm not going to speak for him, but we did both discuss with each other that the people that we represent and the people that we engage throughout the system day to day asked us to land on a certain number. That number was significantly higher than what we were offered. And due to that and no departmental gains, we had to vote no. Because we gave our word to the people who we serve that we would have their best interest. And we told them no. We told them no. And throughout the meeting, as soon as the vote came up 40-2, immediately half of the room asked for roll call. I immediately put my hand up and said it was unnecessary because it was me. And this is, if you ask anybody who attends e-board meetings, anytime I vote no or vote against or abstain, I'm not afraid to say it was me and why. But the way they want things to go down is they want you to be able to vote no and not be asked why, or not have an engaging conversation, is to see what's going on or what's not being served. Because our concerns in RTO may not be the same in MOW or TA Surface or MAP STOA. If it doesn't serve us, I'm there for you. I can't see me voting with them to prosper for them only. We're a union. I can't see that. So if that's not going to serve all of us, then I should vote on your concerns and vote for your favor. And if it means voting no, that means I'm going to vote no. I'm there for the people. I have no problems walking on property. I go anywhere and I show my face everywhere. I have no problem with that. And if nobody likes it or somebody doesn't like me, they can discuss it. I'm open to engagement every day. There's plenty of people I see who don't like me, but they will come over and talk with me. Doesn't bother me. I got a family to take care of. I don't give a shit about the people's feelings here like that. It's just not me. It's not in me. All right, hold on a minute here. No, they did not add more money when we go OPTO. They did not add more money. If in order to get more money for OPTO, they would have had to make more of the system OPTO. I can't see where that's possible. And I can't see OPTO being implemented in other lines, because most other lines that they might want OPTO in, the volume is too heavy. I'm not an OPTO train operator. I'm not certified. I haven't been trained. But seeing what OPTO is, it's a lot for one person to take on. If you got 10 persons in 5 cars, that's 50 people that you have to worry about. If that train goes BIE, you have to climb down, investigate, and then climb back up to make an announcement, and then get back down to make sure you have sufficient distance behind that train so you can move forward. How do you leave 50 people in several cars stranded by themselves without a conductor to actually give them some updates or just to be there to actually engage the people? I don't know how that's possible that you can add more OPTO in this system. I don't see where it's possible. No, the contract is not completely signed or done. We do have to vote. It will be sent out for a vote. Rest assured that Surface was satisfied, and I have no grievance or no gripe with them. I talk with Alexander Kemp all the time. I have no grievance with that. They asked for a certain number. They got that number. They were satisfied, so they're going to vote for what they want. We just didn't get anything to come to the table to satisfy us, and that's the point that we have to work from. We have to work from our point. So after this contract is ratified, that means we're going to have to send our representation back to fight, and they're going to have stipulations or something done to satisfy us. Drum, what's going on? Let's see what he's saying. Integrity. The conductor job. And I see a lot of people they are upset because of the station agents. I understand what the station agents did. Bravo to them. The way I look at this is the company is going to cause a stir. They're going to cause infighting. Because when I came in as a train operator, train operators and conductors were given a $2 bump because they had problems onboarding and retaining people into those positions. They're in that position again. Now, if I'm the company, I'm going to give $3, $4, and I'm going to create another vacuum. I'm going to cause a point of contention to where we can keep the fighting amongst ourselves instead of against the company. That's the smart thing to do. Even if it takes 4 or 5 years to put it in and do it increment by increment, it will cause infighting, because one portion of the union thinks that they're doing better than the other portion, and it's not about us against them. It's never that. It's about safety sensitive and the importance of keeping the hierarchy when you want to promote. Because now, if you're a station agent, why would you leave that title if you have your days off, your holidays and all that? There is no promotion. You're in that position and you're locked in there. There's nowhere to go, and there's no reason for you to go. That's going to cause infighting. The win for the retirees is they have better medical. If you look at when the paperwork comes out, you're going to have, it's far significant than any Plan B or Part B for Medicaid, but it's only active for you after 65 years of age. When you attain Medicaid and Medicare, it's going to be a Part B, and this Part B is very significant. It's very significant. If we have loved ones, and even for ourselves, if it can go on. But please understand that when they tell you the medical is the responsibility of the company, that is true in part, but when you go to the main table, those things have a cost. And a lot of people don't want to say it, but those things can cost you portions of your raise because that money has to be paid. Now, I asked the question in the meeting whether or not this, and they said it's the company's responsibility. But the company's responsibility, you remember, it's a cost of employment. It's not just what our raises are, it's the cost of employment, healthcare, all of these things are a part of it. So don't take it for granted that it's going to be set in stone. It always has to be paid for. And healthcare costs traditionally have never gone down. They've only gone up. So please be aware of that. The union has not told us what they never tell, or they never expose what they ask for. They always say they ask for significant raises. That's kind of a fallacy, because if that was the case, then they wouldn't come and tell us we had the pattern bargain, right? And I've heard it again and again and again. We want significant raises. We want significant raises. But if that's the case, that didn't line up with you telling us that we pattern bargained. If that was the case, you should have said, listen, this is what the starting point is because we pattern bargained. That's simple. I don't know if the union settled too soon. Good morning, Mario. I don't know if the union settled too soon. I don't know if it's a case of that. But I know that there was some urgency, and there was a fear that they would get sent to arbitration. Also, I want to mention that when you hear people talk about the Me Too clause, that Me Too clause doesn't guarantee that we get anything that Metro North and LIRR gets. That just means we reopen negotiations. And rest assured, the company is going to come back and ask for what they asked for before. So it's good. It's just going to be another fight. So don't put it in your mind that, all right, if LIRR and Metro North go and have a windfall, that we automatically participate in that. That's not true. We're going to have to go back to the table and open up everything again. And everything is going to be subject to scrutiny, because they may want this or that back, or they want to enhance this or ask for more of that to get what we want or to get what they have. So please don't run off and say that we have a Me Too, and it's not going to be that. Please. No discussions were held on longevity pay, as far as I know, and I know for a fact in RTO it was never even mentioned. That wasn't even one of the I guess 15 or so things that we asked for, and longevity pay wasn't something that every department was aligned with. That's for you, Mark. There didn't need, good morning, Mary. There didn't need to be anything new put into the contract. We already had a pandemic plan that was never enacted. I believe Trammell talked about that as soon as the pandemic happened. There was a pandemic plan in place already. And it just wasn't enacted in a proper time. And from what I gather, they acted like it was something that they just found, like it was slipped under a desk by mistake, you know. There were no givebacks, Patrice. There were no givebacks because we had any gains, no concessions. Now, if we move further and see the MOU when it comes out, or we see a change in management, then we'll know that either management is taking a hard stance and they're going to go further, or that there was something done behind the scenes. We have to see that going further. But there were no concessions or givebacks. Let me see here. Hold on a minute. Macho, this your pass, if you're in NYCT, MAP Store, or TA Surface, any of those, your pass is a universal pass throughout the system. Only MTA bus got an MTA bus pass. So that pass only works for MTA bus for them. Revamping the crew office is going to be a Herculean task. Most people who work in the crew office promoted from our positions, and they were treated a certain way. And sometimes, and some people feel that it's now their duty to pass that down onto the newcomers or new hires. That is a cultural thing down here that needs to stop. You know, just because something was done doesn't mean it was done right. And that's the problem down here, is that people carry on what's done and they don't look for what's right. What's right is to actually place people closer to their homes. I tell new hires all the time, you know, please don't book off with the people who are handing you the job from the crew office. You know, those people, I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Those people who are handing you the job most of the time are going to be the ones looking out for you. If you do need to book off, you book off at the other location. You go to the other location. But in discussions and talks, I know some of the people who work in the crew office, and I tell them all the time, even before they go there, because most of them are dispatchers and ATDs. Before you go there, remember that you can get more out of a person if they're close to home. You know, I think people are more willing to give you more if they can just go home within 30 minutes to 40 minutes. If they can make it home in that time, they have no problem. They're more than likely do the job. But the problem with the company now is the retention. There was just a class of train operators in the B division. I posted some of them, and they came in as 30. They're graduating 15. People don't want to stay. People see what it is here, and they don't want to stay. They want to go back to their old lives. I don't know what their old habits are, or whatever the money must be good enough for them to leave this. I can't say whether or not it's the right or the wrong choice, but it's their comfortable choice, and it's what's serving their families and themselves. And the retention here is very poor, because people come in, and the first thing they're bombarded with in school cars, you'll be fired. Before you leave 248 or 180, you're going to hear that word or that phrase probably 4 or 5 times before you leave. You'll be fired. You'll be fired. You'll be released. You'll be terminated. It's just a matter of fact now. It's just what the service is. I can't say whether or not it's right or wrong. I don't believe that negative or that putting this pressure on people makes people better. I don't think it does. I don't think it does a service to anybody for them to leave what they had. You're right, or extended. You're right. But I don't believe it does anybody a service to leave. You've left what you had for a new opportunity. And in the midst of attaining that new opportunity, it's impressed upon you that you're going to be fired. You know, or any little infraction you commit, you're terminated. You're done. You know, you leave a job. You got families to take care of. You leave a job to better your family and better yourself. And in the midst of doing it, you're told anything you're done or gonna do, you'll be fired. You know, firing or termination is up for grabs at any moment. I see you, Jail. It is indoctrinating fear. It is, and it's to their benefit, because it can keep you from fighting. So I tell people, if you come into this system as a man or woman and you're adult, fully functioning adult, act as such. Don't let anybody disrespect you. Don't let anybody talk to you out of character or out of your name. That's it. Because there's nothing they can do to refute that. All right. Macho, I'm grateful to hear that. Grateful to hear that pass works. But the way that it was explained to us, that it would only be for a certain system. So I don't know if there's a malfunction or whatever. I can't speak on that. But that's what they were told. That's what was told to us. Is it true that Medicare retirees have to choose one of the Advantage plans, receive reimbursement for Part B premiums pursuant to the new MOW? There are two tracks. It used to be 3. There are 2 now. You can choose one that has co-payments in it, and you can choose another one. But when that comes out, you see that very shortly, Mr. Cologne. You see that very shortly, that when that comes out, that there's one that's more advantageous. And in both of these new plans, there is a reimbursement to not only the member, to the member's spouse. So I know one tract has $500 to the member and $500 to the spouse, which is $1,000 that can be used, that goes right back into your pocket. And also, there's also going to be the prescription coverage, and there's also a little incentive in there through CVS Caremark. I believe it's $120 a year to use for anything that's non-prescription. So outside of your prescriptions, you're going to get, I think, a $30 check every 3 months, which would be 4 times a year for $120. And you can use that to buy alcohol, aspirin, Tylenol, cough medicine, cold medicine. Those are the little things that are given, I guess, because CVS Caremark is part of what was negotiated and afforded to us. Why was there no push to get more days for bereavement? Like I said earlier, the person negotiating for us was not in the best of positions to negotiate for us. You know, there are things that happened in the system that he was a part of, and he'll tell you that everything that he asked for, it was a hard no, and that he had to give a hard no. But it's kind of hard to negotiate from that position that he was in. You know, he put himself in a position to where he couldn't really serve us. Now, I don't know if people want to, I'm not going to mince words, but I've been on both sides of the table in former jobs. And if management sees anything they can hold on to fight back or push back, they're going to do it. He didn't put himself or leave himself in a position to where he could fight for us. We couldn't get more sick days. They wouldn't entertain anything about our availability. In actuality, RTO's availability is the bane to the whole system. They use RTO's availability or lack thereof of our availability as a sticking point every time the union as a whole engages them, is where the problem. But we don't have the transparent availability that other departments have. Other departments have the ability to go right to a book or go to somebody and see what the availability for the day is or what the availability in the future is. We don't have that. Ours is blind. We have to rely on the crew officer being honest. And since I've been down here, we all have either seen people or heard of people calling the day before and getting the day. I've witnessed people get calls from the crew office to ask them if they wanted the day still, or to tell them that there's overtime available and would like to sign up, and they're going to book them all into that overtime before it was even really available to be booked. The availability incentive, that 196 to 201 days, is if they can get 201, or if they can get 5 days above the 196 availability, whatever profit or whatever money that's generated will be split 50-50 between the company and the union. So it will go day by day. So if they can get 1 day above to 197, they'll split that. If they can get to 201, which would be 5 extra days, they'll split that total. The question is not what the incentive is what's going to be done with the money. And from what we've been told, they're going to try to encapsulate that and put that into TUF. TUF is the Training and Upgrading Fund. And that program is also set to be expanded because MOW had a very, I wouldn't say sneaky, but it flew under the radar that they were getting a bump. And people are not understanding what the bump is going to be. Because new technology is going to be onboarded and brought in, new technology jobs are required. So MOW is going to have the ability to put titles into levels. You already see, when you see the pay breakdown, you see that there are level 1 and level 2 positions in MOW titles. You might see an enhanced level 2 or level 3 now. Because now when these new technology titles come, MOW and the union has first right of refusal to say either they want to do those jobs or they don't want to do those jobs. And more than likely, they're going to want to do those jobs. And more than likely, those jobs are going to take extra education, whether it be certificate or you have to go to college or a real trades program to attain these titles. Some of these, majority of these titles are probably going to be computer based, and people are going to have to go to school and get into those programs and graduate. And not only graduate, if there's testing, they're going to have to be able to pass those tests. But once they do, that affords MOW the ability to go back to the table without a contract or without the contract on the table and negotiate salaries and wages for those new positions or those new levels. Whether or not those levels will be open to all of us in the union is a question. Because you got bus operators who may be reclassified, train operators, conductors, other people who may be reclassified, who should have the option and opportunity to go in that direction. Because most of the time in titles that you operating titles, when you are reclassified, it's normally to a cleaner because you no longer can hold safety sensitive. But with this new program coming out, hopefully this is something that's open to all of us and not just MOW. Because if we have this opportunity, it'd be nice or it'd be profitable or fair that we all can participate, because it'd be something that you wouldn't have to lose your pay and you wouldn't have to be diminished to actually keep your employment. All right, pick jobs. There were no changes or nothing contractual to the pick jobs. Pick jobs were fought back. We didn't want all of the 10-hour jobs that were there. You know, I see a lot of people. I voted no, and when it came up that, you know, the pick jobs to 10 hours. I'm a guy who works. I work a high penalty job. You know what I mean? I work overtime. But that doesn't mean that we're going to lock all of the jobs up by 10-hour and high penalty. I know a lot of people on the job are my friends who work 8 and skate, and they need to have that opportunity as well. There are a lot of people who have problems with their families or have children and need to be able to work 8 hours and go home after that. All I'm saying is let's set the table as a buffet, and you get to pick what you want. So there'll be 8-hour jobs, there'll be a mix. 8-hour jobs, 10-hour jobs, 12-hour jobs, whatever it is, there'll be a mix. And you pick what's affordable or what's to your liking. And that's how I think it should be left. I don't think we should move it all to everything as a penalty. Because not everybody wants to work that or can work that. I'm one of the people who can. I do it every day. I don't know if that answers your question about that. If there's more. And before I forget, let me go into my Tremel Thompson Nuke McLaren bag. Share this live out. Share this video out. Let enough people and let as many people get a hold of this information as they can. What is in training and posting payment? And see, nothing for CED was brought up about posting payments or for training. You know, it was. I think buses got a boost. They got 3 hours for training. I know RTO, or the department I'm from, excuse me, they're looking into that. I don't know how fruitful that's going to be. I post students all the time. I believe I should be paid for my whole run posting a student, because that student is there front to back. And 99% of the times, I'm just coaching. The student is doing all of the work. I don't believe in pulling the person up out of the seat. They need to see it all. I believe you learn better by doing. So I don't pull the person out of the seat. And if you run across any of the students that I posted, they can tell you. that they do all of the trips. We do the layup if we have a layup. But if I have a 3-tripper on the queue, they do at least 2 of the trips. And I do one of the last trips. That's it. I don't believe in pulling anybody out. You're here for an experience and you're here to learn something. And I take it seriously that it's my duty to do it, because when I came in, I had people who had 30 and 35 years in who were posting me, and what they gave me, I feel it's my responsibility to give to others. And I take pride in that. Mr. Wright, I don't know if that answers your question, but for CED, nothing was brought to the table or brought about for posting or training. Even in our, when we were putting together our demands, that was never brought up from CED. I'm sorry. Why was Easy Pass not considered when congestion pricing is going to effect? Well, I watched the VP's video last night. He said that was above his pay grade, and he was not at the table for that. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I was hoping that would be brought up, but I don't know if that's going to be used as another windfall. If that's a rabbit they have in the hat, that when congestion pricing is put into place, that the union will magically go, voila, we have it. We have Easy Pass now. I don't know if that's, sometimes that's a tactic. It's a bait and switch, that they'll make it seem that they don't have anything or don't have it, and it's agreed that it's going to be kept in the background until it needs to be used. I don't see the big problem with us having an Easy Pass at all. If you're especially if we're coming to and from work, shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem, Mr. Green. It shouldn't be a problem at all that we have the Easy Pass, because I know a lot of people have been forced to live in Jersey and Pennsylvania and upstate, and they can't afford to buy a home or live in the 5 boroughs or in the New York City area, and that's a problem. Plenty of people have to come from Jersey, Pennsylvania. Some even have to come from Delaware to come to work because they're trying to afford their family a quality of life that they can't get here. I understand that. I understand that. Miss Simone, I understand what you're saying. A lot of main table things I don't think he was invited to, because I don't think he had any sway over those things, and I don't believe that the VP of the departments, many of them or any of them, were invited to that table. But there wasn't much to say for us. The first raise will probably hit our paychecks after ratification sometime. I don't know if it's on the paperwork itself, but maybe within 2 weeks, because that's a computer issue. That's all that is. I don't believe all VPs were cut out of the department or cut out of the main table. It's just that the main table is always discussed first, or this time they discussed departmentals first and then went to the main table. But this is not always the case, depending on how they want to negotiate. This time I've been told that the departmentals went first and the main table went. But the main table is for the union as a whole: wages, health insurance, those kind of benefits are main table. Your department wouldn't have any bearing on that. All right, hold on a minute. Let me get to you. Yes, they will get anybody on payroll after our contract expired is eligible for the essential worker bonus. The people who worked in the apex of the pandemic are not eligible. They're not on payroll. They're not on payroll. That's why this is not a pandemic payment. This is not a hazard pay, because under those circumstances and terms and wording, they would be eligible. They couldn't be excluded. That's why this is called a bonus, an essential worker bonus. the main table, departmental discussions were not held at the main table. Departmental discussions were held separate from the main table. But from my understanding, Mr. Yutano was there helping with departmentals for RTO. Workers' comp was not considered at all. Workers' comp had no bearing or anything, and that's a problem for us in service departments altogether. Anybody, bus operators, train operators, car cleaners, station agents, station cleaners, those we exposed to the public, and that's mainly where a lot of our assaults and all of those things, the negative things that happen to us, those are where they stem from. The contract language will be, or the MOW will be sent to you, and it will be exposed when you get your ballot. Right before you get your ballot, you'll see the tenants. I don't know if they're going to provide all of it as it was put to us. What we saw, I don't know if they're going to supply that. If you're on payroll, it doesn't matter if you're out on workers' comp. If you're on payroll, it didn't discriminate. The saying was on payroll. You have to be on payroll from May 16th, I believe, to receive the essential worker bonus. So if you're out, it doesn't matter. You just cannot separate yourself from payroll. That means if you retire or you were separated from employment or you were terminated, you're not eligible. So anything prior to that date, you're not eligible. That's why this is not considered a pandemic payment or a hazard pay. Anything more? Anything more? No. Garcia, no, we did not give up anything. In truth, there was nothing. In order to give up, we'd had to gain, and we gained nothing. We stayed still. And if you look at that, we stayed still. We were stagnant. Stagnation is not, that's a survival mode because we're standing still. We didn't move forward. We stood in the same place. And that same place actually pushed us back. Because we stayed in the same place, the other departments gained further ahead of us. They moved further ahead of us. So that staying in the same place has actually put us backwards. I know everybody keeps asking if what we gave up, what we gave up. That's why I keep saying that maybe something along the lines of discipline or something like that is going to be something we have to fight back. I'm not particularly sure, but I know the instances of write-ups and things like that and the threats have increased. You know, the things have kind of ramped up on us. I don't know if that's due to the contract or this is the new stance that they're going to take, and they're going to be more stringent when they're dealing with us. Mr. Green, is this bonus considered our... No, it's not. You cannot consider this our hazard pay. This is an essential worker bonus. Do not confuse the two, because hazard pay, in my opinion, cannot be this low. What we do is very hazardous for a living. You know, besides the air study and all of these other things that are in our environment, this should never be equated to hazard pay. Do not consider this hazard pay. Do not put it in your mind that this is hazard pay. This was just them removing a certain percentage from the raise, because if we would have put it in, it would have been compounded. Imagine if this $3,000 was another 3.5% or 3% in the compounded wage. It would have gained you far more money if it was compounded in your wage instead of giving it to you flat out. NYPD, we're never going to match them. It's sorry to say, but we're never going to match them. They're never going to put us above law enforcement. Please don't. In order for that to happen, we have to fight. I mean, we're going to have a Herculean fight to get above NYPD. We're going to have to. It's going to be something that we're going to have to fight throughout the whole system. Mr. Cunningham, what's up? That is true. That is true. That is true. Everything we asked for was a hard no, and the only thing that our representative could do was give a hard no back. So we had a stalemate, and the stalemate is not profitable to any of us. From what I understand, hazard pay is out the window, and the main reason it's out the window is they say because we kept working. We didn't stop. We didn't shut the system down. We didn't do any of that. Now, I don't believe that should be held against us, that we kept working. You know, some of us didn't want to be inside. Some of us wanted to keep moving. Some of us had to keep our minds going. Some of us had families to take care of. Some of us had bills to pay and couldn't afford to stay home. That's exactly right, Mr. Grubshot. That we got nothing for continuing to work. Well, the Taylor Law is on the table. There's a bill currently being sponsored. I forgot the number. I saw the number last night. SB, I think it's 5458, I believe, or 5457, something like that. That's being sponsored. That will remove us or change how the Taylor Law is and give us the right to strike. And in the meeting, Mr. Samuelson said that if we had the right to strike, we probably wouldn't have to use it. I don't know. I don't know what stance the company is going to take in order to keep us or to remove us or to actually appease us or to keep us from enacting that if we gain that right. I don't know. And I don't know if people are ready to do that. I don't know. Everybody is not built the same way. And if that's the case, we all need to lean on one another and challenge and talk to one another and probably reassure one another that if we do have to strike and we have the ability to strike legally, that we have to, sometimes you might have to sacrifice a little bit to gain a lot. And you're going to have to make that decision. Is you or are you going to strike for the betterment of the future? Because sometimes when you strike or whatever you do today may never befall you. It may never benefit you. It may benefit future generations. But is it the right thing to do? You have to judge that. You have to weigh that out. It may be the right thing to do. You may not benefit from it today, tomorrow, or years to come. You may benefit it from your last year in service. But is it the right thing to do? You may have to do something to stabilize this job. There is no worst case scenario if the negotiations go to arbitrations, because it's not. It's not going to go. That's absolutely right, Mr. Cunningham. Safety reasons and being in the pandemic is the biggest safety reason. But you got to remember that the union had an agreement through the pandemic for the profit sharing. So the availability, they had that on the table. I don't know if that was a deciding factor as to why or why not, but that was on the table. And that money was supposed to be up for grabs for them to partake in it. And I believe that's one of the defining factors of why we didn't, have work stoppages or anything like that. Because in my opinion, I think we'd have saved a lot more of our co-workers and our brothers and sisters if we would have stopped moving the trains for 2 weeks straight. We could have been able to kind of put not a halt or a stop, but it would put a pause, and we could have been able to move better forward through the pandemic if we would have just stopped in place for 2 weeks and then gradually brought it back up. But I don't know why that wasn't done. I don't know. I wasn't on the e-board, and I wasn't in that was under Eric's administration. Good morning, Sonia. I don't know if they From what I'm seeing, there are the long-term healthcare effects. There are studies that the union is aware of that have to be, I guess, examined and looked into further as to what is going to have benefit to us. I know when we retire, if your hearing diminishes, your eyesight, your lungs, all of those things are covered. I don't know if that's going to be something covered after you retire or the long-term healthcare benefits of it. One of the next union-wide elections, I believe that's in next year, I believe, for the following year. Let me get back to your question. And I don't believe there are any overtime reductions currently. I don't know what department you work for, Garcia. I don't know what department you work for, but there currently are no overtime reductions. Actually, there's a strain. There is a lot of overtime to be had because in my department, you got a lot of overtime every day because we can't keep the people there. There are no ways to get rid of Mr. Local right now. Mr. Local is released to John Chiarello, and that's who he actually works for. Ms. Brinson, I know you work in the A Division. I was there for a while, and I understand that Eric put himself in a position where he can be released and work for the union directly. You know, there's no way. He's not in an elected position. So there's no way to get rid of him. They like him. They're going to keep him. The contract was 3 years was a sticking point because the governor race is in 3 years. And I believe this is a move to have leverage for the governor to actually, I wouldn't say do something nice, but to actually, for us to kind of be even keel. We need something. The governor needs something. And it's a fair trade. I believe that was a good move for them to do 3 years. I don't know how fruitful that is going to be. I couldn't tell you whether or not it's going to be fruitful or bear fruit. We had some good movement with Tier 6, but we need the cap to be removed from Tier 6. That way, Tier 6 looks a lot more like Tier 4. Those are things that we're going to have to fight for in the future. You know, them reducing the contribution back to 3.5 is nice, but the cap needs to be removed. That way, whatever you make, you can put your whole number is pensionable. In buses, there's an MOU agreeing to lower overtime. I'm not privy to their MOU or their part of the MOU, but I haven't seen that. Maybe they want lower overtime that's mandatory or standard, but I'm not aware of that. You'd have to forward that question to Mr. Kemp or J.P. Patafio or Donald Yates, somebody who's in surface. I doubt they're never gonna change the exemption forms because that's a way for them to try to bust you for padding the payroll or doing something inappropriate. So I doubt that they're going to move forward with that. They're going to want you to take onus and you're going to have to claim your time. If they're going to do it by computer, then it's going to be more difficult because now all of your slips have to be signed by either an ATD or a TD for them to be valid. So that's going to be the sticking point, is that if you put if you input some content into a computer system, how can they validate it? That's why the slips are still there. Mr. Suarez, there's nothing being said about Easy Pass currently. Like I said earlier, you weren't here. I'm sorry about that, but I believe there may be a rabbit in the hat, that when congestion pricing comes, there'll be something streamlined. We'll be streamlined right into that. If not, it'll be a disservice to us. I'm not aware of any lawsuit going on about OT currently. Yeah, if it's one of the committees, that's not my department. I'm not privy to that. I'm on the E-board. You'd have to ask Alexander Kemp and his team, J.P. Patafio and his team. How come there was no COLA? Because COLA would by far put us head and shoulders above where we're at. COLA is a federal thing. COLA is automatic. Anytime inflation goes up, automatically our pay will go up. And that's something that we gave back in the 80s, I believe. Early 80s. We gave up COLA because this job was actually working for transit and was actually exceeding COLA at the time. So COLA was a detriment to us. COLA didn't move us forward because we were making more money than COLA would provide. It's not the same anymore, is it? COLA would be a beautiful thing to have, because the moment our negotiations wouldn't be about just getting to cost of living, it would be above and beyond that. I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they want to do that. And asking for COLA would probably be more than just the governor can provide, more than the company can provide. It'd have to be the federal government involved in that. And then you'd have to get the international involved in that as well. Because COLA is like when you get COLA with Social Security, automatically you get an increase. There's no discussion. It just automatically takes place until Congress and Senate have to vote on those things. But as soon as it's done, it's implemented. It's automatic. All right, if there's nothing further, I'm going to wrap it up. I got to get ready to go to work. By the way, you see the T-shirt. I never thought I'd have to wear this for my contract. I thought that this was a statement against what the company was doing. If the members don't approve the contract, more than likely the company's going to say they want to go to binding arbitration. The union is going to want to go back to the table, but the company's going to say they want to go to binding arbitration. If they go to binding arbitration, that thing where they say that patent bargaining is baked into the Taylor law, they would have to go for that. You know, it's not a problem. I just want to be here to help. But that patent bargaining thing is going to be baked in, and they're going to say that that's something we have to accept no matter what. I would be careful with it, and sometimes we just need a stronger team to negotiate for us, or to be in a stronger position. Sometimes we're not, and this is apparently one of those positions that we weren't in the strongest position to get everything we wanted. All right, if that's it, I'm going to sign off. You people have a good day. Listen, stay positive, stay up. Please do your job. Please know what your job is. Do your job to the letter and protect yourself at all times. Thank you.